Hey, what's up guys? It's Jason from Dward and Bodie. Welcome back to another edition of Traeger Tuesday. So for today's meal, we're going to be doing a French-inspired dinner. We have a brie that we're going to cook on the Traeger. It's going to be ooey and gooey with a little bit of hot honey, some walnuts on there. We're going to be doing some wood fire grilled oysters, a little bit of heat, a little bit of sweet. They're just going to be delicious. I'm excited for this one. Let's get it going. All right, so to get things started, what we're going to do first is get a pan, line it with foil. We've got our wheel of brie, and we're just going to cut the top layer off, the casing as they say. We want to make sure to leave the sides and the bottom on. We're just going to put that in the pan. If you've seen any of the episodes, you know that I love my hot honey. Just going to drizzle that on. You can use any honey, you can use clover honey. Any local honey is always good. And then I like to put on a little bit of candied walnuts on there. Pecans are great as well. And that's it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this to the Traeger. We've already preheated it to 350. And today I'm using oak pellets. That's going to add a nice oakiness, a nice flavor to the cheese. So we're going to put this in for about 8 to 10 minutes. Super easy, super simple, super quick. So while the brie's in the Traeger cooking away, we're going to go ahead and whip up some simple sides for it. I have some grapes. We're going to do a little Granny Smith apple. So the tartness of the apple with the saltiness of the brie just really pair well together. We've got some bread from Avenue Bread. It's delicious, fresh baked. It's nothing better. Yeah, these are really great just to dip in that cheese. That cheese is gonna come out. It's gonna be nice and gooey. You're gonna just take these, dip them in the cheese. It's going to be delicious. And really, you don't even have to slice the bread. You can just tear off chunks and dip it in. It's even better. So we'll plate these all up, and then we'll bring out the cheese, set it to the side, and it's a nice appetizer for our dinner. All right, so next up what we're gonna do is we're gonna get the oysters going. Now this dish is classically French, and it's so easy. Oftentimes people are a little bit intimidated by oysters. They're kind of rocky and they look funky, but you know what? It's so easy to get these going and just make them delicious. So we're gonna set the oysters aside now. We're gonna get the topping started for it first. Okay, so first up, we're gonna dice up 2 onions and 1 red bell pepper. This is gonna be the base of our topping. I like to cut the onion in half, peel off that first layer of skin. A little trick for cutting an onion, I like to slice down the center and create a bunch of little slits, not all the way to the end. You wanna make sure you keep the end of the onion on there. And then we're just gonna dice it. And now you have perfectly diced onions. All right, so I'm gonna keep up dicing the onions and the red peppers, but while I'm doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and take my cast iron skillet. I'm gonna pop it in the Traeger to preheat it. We're gonna turn the Traeger up to high. Now, on my Timberline here, I'm able to get that up to 500 degrees, which is key. Some of the lower end models, you can't get quite so high. So we're gonna turn it up to high. We're gonna put the cast iron skillet in there, keep on dicing, and we'll toss it in, we'll get mixing. Not only is this gonna taste good, but it is going to look good with all these bright colors. The reds, the whites, the yellows. It's gonna be delicious and beautiful. Now we're gonna take the diced up onions and red bell pepper. We're gonna go ahead and put that in that cast iron pan that should be piping hot now. We're gonna cook them down until the onions become a little bit transparent, and then we'll continue on with the sauce. Next up for the toppings for the oysters, we're gonna cut up and juice 2 lemons. Now, you can buy pre-squeezed lemon juice, but why would you when you have fresh produce at our fingertips? Okay, so now a quick and easy way to get all those seeds out. Just get a second bowl, put a strainer on it, just pour it through. All right, now to the lemon juice, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add all the spices. So we have 3 teaspoons of dried thyme. We've got 3 bay leaves, 5 tablespoons of garlic. Yes, 5 tablespoons. Oysters, garlic, lemon. It is going to be so good. And then the chicken rub. Now you might be thinking chicken, oysters, those two aren't the same, but maybe it's the chicken of the sea. I don't know. Either way, this stuff is good on everything. We're gonna add 3 tablespoons of the chicken rub. We're gonna give that a good stir. Okay, so we're gonna take the seasoning mix we just made. We're gonna add it to the onions and bell peppers. We're gonna let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes, just cook down, strengthen all those flavors. So let's do that. All right, so our red bell pepper and onion mixture is done sauteing up. We are now going to mix in 4 sticks of butter. Yes, 4 sticks of butter. It's gonna be so good. We're also gonna put in 3 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce and about 3 tablespoons of hot sauce. Now you can add more hot sauce if you want, depends on how spicy you like it. For us, we're gonna do about 3 tablespoons. All right, so now comes the fun part. We're gonna start shucking some oysters. Now, I know it can be a little bit intimidating if you haven't done it before, and I have to admit it was pretty intimidating the first time I ever did it, but you know what, I got through it. A couple easy tips. So you're gonna roll up a towel, fold it over a couple times, put your thumb in there. That's gonna add a good protection from the knife. You wanna make sure you have a really good oyster knife. These can be found really any cooking store. Grab your oyster. Now you'll notice on the oysters you have the thin end and the thick end. Now that's the end you want pointing out, and that's where we're gonna put the knife. You're gonna take your oyster knife, slide it in there. Now just take it slow, be careful with the knife, kind of twist it back and forth. You're gonna feel it pop right there, and that's when you know you've got it. Now what you wanna do is take that knife, do the same thing on the other sides as well. And you're really just gonna release the whole thing. You wanna take the knife, get that top shell off, and we did it, we shucked an oyster. Now go ahead and pick up the oyster from here, run your knife all the way around. You wanna make sure that you release that muscle, so when you go to eat it, it's a nice, easy, clean bite. And there we have it. We have shucked an oyster. Not that bad, right? All right, now we just keep going on to the rest of them. We've got about a dozen oysters here, so we're gonna take it slow. We're gonna work through this, and it's gonna be well worth the wait. All right, so now we're gonna add about a 1/4 cup of white wine to our sauce mixture. All right, so the topping is in the Traeger. It's almost done. We're gonna pull that out. We're gonna take the beautifully shucked oysters that we worked really hard on. We're gonna take these, throw them on the Traeger, top with that topping, cook for 5 minutes on high, and we're gonna be good to go. All right, guys, here we have it. We have our wood fire grilled oysters. We have our baked brie with that hot honey drizzle and those candied walnuts. I've got all the little sides for the brie. This bread, fresh made yesterday. Gonna dip that in some of that sauce. Now again, this is the sauce we put on the oysters. So good. I've been waiting all day to try that. These oysters, again, we topped with red bell pepper, onions, lots of butter, the French way, of course, Worcestershire, that chicken rub. It's gonna be so good. So good. You've got a little bit of that smokiness from the oak pellets that we used. You've got a little bit of heat from the hot sauce. The oyster is just naturally sweet from the waters of the Pacific Northwest. We've got a little bit of onion, red bell peppers. You guys, I could eat 20 of these easy. Now, this ooey gooey baked brie. Let me tell you how delicious this looks. And if you were here and you could smell this, oh, it is awesome. I'm just gonna take a little bit of the bread, get some of that cheese on there. I like a little bit of that crisp, tart, Granny Smith apple. Candied walnuts. Amazing. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Traeger Tuesday. It's been awesome to be able to change up the location, change up the type of food with our French-inspired oyster dish. If there's anything you want us to try and cook, go ahead and put that in the comments. We'll do our very best to try it out. I'm always excited to try new dishes. Make sure that you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you know when the next episode is going to be released. Until then, I'm Jason. We'll see you next week. It's so good. The key is that sauce.